guys, it's me, Aisha Shante Jackson, and I'm the creator and the founder of the Muscle Mind Journaling Sessions. First off, I would like to say thank you to all my new subscribers. It's really appreciated. Thank you for letting me help you along your journey, and it also motivates me to carry on along my journey. So today I'd like to talk about my dirty little secret intro part 1 and 2. I would like to share with you guys the things that I've gone through battling schizoaffective disorder. For those of you who may not know my story, I hope that this will encourage you and inspire you to carry on your journey of life. So here we go. You go through things in life, good or bad, that can change you. I don't know if everything happens for a reason, but I do know good can come from a tough situation. More often than none, bad things happen to good people. When I was 28, my life was changed, and I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. I did not want this illness to define me. It's been a long 20-year struggle. Writing for me is a passion, a gift from God, and it has helped me through tough times. So, I have written 3 books. I've written 2 movies, various TV pilots, and a few songs. So, schizoaffective disorder affects many people of different nationalities. No one knows if there is a cure for schizoaffective disorder, but with the right medication, it's possible to live a stable life. As of today, I am 47, and now that I put it out there, it's a hard pill to swallow, even all these years. I struggle to tell people about my illness, or something that I don't tell people at all. Every reaction is different. I remember going to the eye doctor and I had a list of medication, and looking at me, the doctor says, "You're such a together person to be on such heavy medication." Now, how was I supposed to respond to that? So sometimes when I do tell my story, I found out that some people know someone who has had a mental illness or schizoaffective disorder. But then I know that I am not alone. But there are so many people with schizoaffective disorder who feel isolated and are alone. So I decided to write this blog to help others that are struggling, let them know that there is hope. One can still live a successful life. My life today is filled with hard work and a drive to pursue my dreams. I live a stable life with lots of support and love. I continue to write for the sense of satisfaction, for the pure delight. God has blessed me with a loving and supportive family that I do not take for granted. When it comes to having or living with a mental illness, a good support system is essential for healthy living and a balanced life. There are so many people that are suffering in silence, who may feel trapped within their minds. I get it and I understand. There are so many cases of suicide among the schizoaffective community that really saddened me, so I wanted to do something about it. That's why I decided to share some of my journey in hopes to bring a sense of understanding to those suffering, and maybe be a beacon of light in a dark time. Just know that there is someone who cares, even if you feel like no one does. There is help if you seek the proper treatment. I see my mental health doctor once a month regularly. Someone once said, "The danger comes when we accept what is false as reality." I think I've always heard voices. I remember as a child jokingly making a statement. I was the quiet child because I was too busy talking to voices in my head. I always had a vivid imagination. My parents would often say, if you want to be great, you have to have a story to tell. So, up to the time that I was 28, I felt like I really didn't have a story to tell. So, at the age of 28, the schizoaffective disorder manifested and my life was turned upside down. I now had a story to tell. So, here is my story. This is my true story. Am I sane or not? Am I going through a spiritual battle, or is this really happening? Most of us believe there is a world outside of our world, But when faced with opposition, unreal scenarios, to the one suffering, it is undoubtedly real. I often wonder how much of what I go through mentally is a spiritual attack, or how much is my imagination gone wild. It's a daily battle of the mind. Good versus evil. What choice does one make today? My sister says everyone hears voices. It's just a matter of what voice that person chooses to listen to. But what happens when that one voice becomes many? Not one voice deciphering good or evil, but many voices who decide it's their right to make choices for you or abuse you mentally, telling who they think you are and what you should do or who you should be. So, one Monday I woke up, I heard one voice, then that one voice became many. Then I started to hallucinate. I would cry out to the Father God, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I asked, why is this my cup? Haven't I been faithful? I also know that this too shall pass. But then, at the end of the day, I know that this is my cup for me to share my story, so that I might help someone else make it through, so that someone will see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. With the help of my family and friends, and to the one who gets all the glory, my God, do I feel a need to be in a mental institution? Sometimes I do, when I'm going through an episode, just to take the burden off my family. Then eventually I became catatonic, in layman's terms, not all there, coma-like state. It was hard for my family to see me like that. So, when the realization of this becomes clear, I start to cry, even though I'm going through the madness. It's hard to remember things. At the age of 31, sitting in the ER because I just had an anxiety attack that masqueraded as a heart attack due to schizoaffective disorder, I know that something is clearly wrong. When you have schizoaffective disorder, it's hard. There is no sense of time. I could look at the calendar, go to sleep, and wake up. It's a month later. It consumes every aspect of your life. Needless to say, you will not have one. Living with a mental illness does not affect just you, but it affects the people that are in your life. It's stressful living with a relative who has schizoaffective disorder. Every day is different. You never know what to expect. So monitoring is always key, and taking medication is key, but finding the right medication is the most important factor. It's best to remember finding the right medication takes time because what works for one person may not necessarily work for someone else. It took me 7 years in my case. So, with much prayer and knowing that God's with me, lightens the load even though it is heavy. Nobody ever said the grieving process would be easy, so that's when it happened for the second time. My aunt died that night. I start crying in my bed. Then my mind snaps. I hear a voice telling me there is nothing left here for me on earth. That is, the voice said he is an angel and that his mission is to take me to the other side. So as a Christian, I know the other side is real, but that was a lie from the enemy who wants to see large insects, demons, or good and bad angels asking you to pick a side. All I know is that I am a Christian, and through my faith I believe I will go to heaven. My sister said, or asked, is the food talking to you again? What are they saying this time? What do you think you're eating? So, I did not eat. I got down to 98 pounds, but I believed that I was eating people. Yes, I believe that. So I did not eat at all. I had to be forced to eat my food and really forced to take my medication. In a sense, I truly believe we all go through spiritual battles. My sister says some people are accessible to the unknown. I don't know if this is true, but when you have schizoaffective disorder, every sense is grander. So the unknown was blurred in my perception of reality. Another instance, I'm sitting in my car at a doctor's office in tears. The doctor turned me away. There was nothing they could do to help me. The doctor said I told the doctor I was hearing voices again and I just needed to get some sleep. I went there to get sleeping pills. Then, to no avail, the doctor said, "I am sorry, but you have to go see your mental health doctor." Needless to say, I was devastated. I did not want to go back to the mental health facility or see my doctor. Then I would have to admit that even with the proper health, taking vitamins and exercise, that I was mentally ill. Schizoaffective disorder is hard illness because each episode I believe what is happening in my mind is real. This time, my family put a lock on my door for fear I would run off to only God knows where. So, one instant, I decided to pack my bags, and I was sitting in my car for hours in the garage until they found me. My family refused to put me in a mental health hospital. So, each episode lasts around 3 or 4 months. So, all those months, I would hear voices and hallucinate. The other months, I would try to get my life back in order, and that took time. Only to repeat the cycle for about 7 years, until finally the right medication was found. There are many side effects when taking psychotic medication, and one of mine was getting muscle spasms in the core of my stomach. This was horrific. I was gagging for hours as if I must throw up, but there was no throw up. Sorry for too much information. I also got lightheaded and my vision would become blurry. There was no way to calm me down. The label on the medication bottle says do not overheat, which means I must stay cool, but when it was summertime, it was impossible. I desperately wanted to be off the meds so that I can get back to my regular life. I wanted to work again. But how can I when I'm constantly having muscle spasms? So at this point, I couldn't even hold a job. I didn't know when I will have another episode, and the endless chatter in my mind was a nuisance. I felt like screaming. Then again, I did scream. I felt like something was trying to control me, or come into me, or maybe come out of me. At this point, I didn't even know what was going on. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to laugh and not be tormented by something I have no control over. I didn't want to have panic attacks, muscle spasms. I think body weight plays a part in how the medication will affect someone. Because I have noticed when I was heavier, the muscle spasm was milder than when I was thinner. The condition became worse. It was bad. There was a tightening in my chest and I'm gagging for hours. I would try to throw water on my face, try drinking warm tea, anything to cool off. All I can do was lay in pain in front of the fan until I fell asleep. But the pain was unbearable and crying just made it worse. My mom lit candles, put on soft music, anything to try to relax me because she couldn't stand to see me in pain. I developed a new side effect called Tardive dyskinesia, which is involuntary movements. For me, it was in my face, it was in my eyes. This side effect could be permanent. It could have been permanent, but I prayed that it wasn't. My eyes would shift up like this, and I couldn't look down for hours. It was horrific, and I could not cry. It was so bad, you guys. So it's kind of horrific to have no control over your eyes. I had to stay home for a whole year because I didn't know when or where the flare-ups would happen. I certainly couldn't drive in that condition or even work. I prayed and asked Father to hear me because all I can do at that point was hurting myself. But just because I needed something to take away the pain. I put on Christian music for hope. I tried to focus on something besides the pain. As I lay in the bed making gagging noises, I realized I am scaring the kids. They want to know what is wrong with their auntie, why is she hurting. All anyone can say is auntie is sick. I was determined not to be the crazy aunt who lives locked upstairs in her room. So I took my meds faithfully, but that wasn't always the case. So during those 7 years, I would take my meds some days and some days I would not. I guess there was still a part of me that didn't want to believe I was sick. After changing my meds for the first time, my doctor finally found the right medication and there were no side effects. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing, and then I was able to live a stable life. So I've been stable now for about 20 years. I did have a mini relapse a couple of years ago, but that was it. It was scary because I didn't think it would happen again. And it did, so that lets me know that I must manage the stress in my life a little bit better. I am on such an elevated level of medication, it's a bit staggering, especially when I must tell people the doses of meds I take. But I do need it. I can never skip or miss a day because immediately I become unstable, in other words, unglued. That's my new normal. Always more cautious. My mental health doctor says, be mindful of the warning signs. Don't take for granted that you're stable, because even if it feels like all is well, it's just a matter of time when it happens again. There is so much shame that comes with living with a mental illness. Many people believe what they see in movies or hear by family or friends who may know someone who have schizoaffective disorder. Each person handles their psychotic episode differently. I think for me, it feeds off my belief system because I am a Christian. That's why I said there's always some spiritual battle that takes place in our lives. Believe it or not, even if you do not believe in God, with schizoaffective disorder, you might just get connected to a higher power. Well, in my case, there's always some sacrifice that needs to happen. That's when the delusions came into play. I still marvel at how much my mind was able to make believe, and how much of that I actually believe. It never gets easier. That's why I said schizoaffective is a hard illness to have, to go through, and to witness. So, that's my story. I know there's so much more I could say, but that's it for now. If you want, you can go back and listen to my Dirty Little Secret intro part 1 and 2. There were things that I left out, so if you want to hear more of what I've gone through, go ahead and take a listen to those earlier vlogs. I hope this message encouraged you to carry on your journey of life. And once again, thank you for letting me help you, inspire and motivate you guys to carry on. In conclusion, my final thoughts. Romans 10:9 says, if you declare with your mouth, Jesus Lord, and believe in your heart that God rose from the dead, you will be saved. So, if you feel led to sow into my ministry, the information is down below. May the Lord bless you. Until next time, you guys. Take care and God bless.